everybody, back to another exciting show, the About That Wallet podcast. My name is Anthony, and if you're new to this show, I want you to take the moment to actually subscribe, like, and actually share, especially if you like the content. But for right now, one of the things that I do want to talk about is the ability to leave your job even though you hate it and you really just can't afford it. Because a lot of people are actually quitting their jobs right now. I think it's well over 3.6 million Americans have quit their jobs so far back in May. So that's something that's interesting. And then on top of that, there are at least about 10 million jobs available. So that means that there are more jobs than people right now. And then on top of that, people are walking off the jobs because they're understanding that life is more important than the work that they do. Now, is that something that we all have to worry about? Yes. At the time of this recording, I think a lot of people are just pretty much frustrated with the way that the industries are working their employees. Keep in mind, this is about that wallet. So I'm actually talking about the behaviors around finances and the reason why it is very important to start thinking about your life in a different light. You know, we always thought of going to school. We actually go to school and we're taught to be good employees. We are never taught to be business owners. So we never thought to ask the questions that actually impact the business side of the house. Because if we did, I don't think a lot of us will be employees or be looking to get us paid as little as we are. Now, there is a lovely clip, I think, with Ben Shapiro talking to a guy making up this thing about a pencil factory and saying well, you know, if the employees are doing all the work and all this extra stuff, we should be paid more.
A pencil factory, I'm a worker in that pencil factory. You can have all the machinery, you can buy all the raw materials you want, but without me, and presumably many others like me, to assemble the pencils, all you would have is a pile of wood, yellow paint, graphite, rubber, and aluminum.
Okay.
That would be and that is worth less than the pencil when you try and sell it. And yet, all of that value added by labor, apart from the wages that you give me, which, if we're being honest, there is a major power imbalance in our ability to negotiate that.
If all that putting the pencil together requires is basic use of your prefrontal cortex, then yes, your labor is alienable at lower rates than if you are a doctor. That's not the fault of the person who owns the machinery.
But if you didn't have workers like me and your pencil factory, and you were just one man.
But I do. I have millions of people who are willing to do that voluntarily for me.
If you're just one person trying to assemble pencils, you're not going to get very far. You need workers. Capital needs labor infinitely more than labor needs capital. That's why you have worker cooperatives where the workers are the
fundamentally disagree on the distinction between capital and labor. Capital is just a term for money. If you're talking about money, money does not grow from the ground. Money only has value because it was traded for labor at one point or the products of labor. So if I take my money and I buy machinery, I have invested my labor in doing that because I didn't get the money from nowhere. Even if I got it from my parents didn't get the money from nowhere. The people who built the machines required me to trade something of value to them in order for me to obtain the machines. The people who invented the machines required people to pay them in order to get the patent to that machine so they could build the machine. The problem that I'm seeing in what you're saying is you have still failed. If what you're talking about is a system of voluntarism, you still have not named any area in which we disagree, and yet you're telling me that you're a socialist and I'm a free marketer. So one of us has got this wildly wrong, and I'm pretty sure it's not me.
The differentiation I draw, and I'm not alone in this, I'm not one person trying to redefine anything. The differentiation I and many others like me draw between socialism and capitalism is that under capitalism, when you as the owner of the factory, you give me a wage. The wage could be $7.25, it could be $15, it could be whatever an hour. Right? But you give me a wage. All the additional profit above made from selling the pencils or whatever good you produce above what is reinvested into the company ultimately goes to you or the investors, those who own shares in the means of production.
Right.
Under socialism, those people are the workers, and the example I give, again, is cooperative enterprise.
No, those are the people who are investing the risk. So if they carry the risk, then they get the benefit. The owner of the factory carries the risk, therefore he gets the benefit. The workers in the company you mentioned, if that company were to go bankrupt, they would carry the risk as well as the benefit. If the company goes bankrupt, and this guy has to pay off all of his debts, the worker may lose his job, but he's not the one who's going to incur the debt of having gone bankrupt. If you incur risk, then you're the one who pays the downside. The worker does not pay the downside. Okay, it is the investor who pays the downside, who invested in all the machinery, who sunk millions of dollars into making your labor productive. Because guess what? Your labor is without that machinery. Gunk. Nothing. You don't have a pencil to put together. You don't got the wood. You don't got the paint. You don't got the rubber. You don't got the metal. You got nothing. Right? You're sitting there, standing outside, twiddling your thumbs. It required somebody to invest. Who do you think put more in? The guy who spent millions of dollars buying all the machinery, leasing the place, making sure there was a management structure, doing the LLC formation, making sure all the tax code was in compliance, or you standing outside because you can stick a piece of graphite into a piece of wood? Now we're done.
Quickly said, as the business owner, you go out there and buy the building, you buy the machines, you do all the advertising, you do all the hiring, you do all the firing, you did put everything in place so that person can come in to do one of the tasks, just one of the tasks that is used to kind of keep the business going. So as the business owner, they do a lot, so they do deserve to get paid what they get paid. An employee could get paid a little bit more, but that is up to the business, because if the employee is actually bringing in some more income, hey, then the company can easily compensate that. That's the reason why a lot of people go into sales, because of those sales bonuses. You are actually helping spreading the word for the company. You actually are bringing people in. These are the couple of things on the reason why you can look at how you're getting paid versus what someone else is getting paid. You'd be surprised on how many people want to be restaurant owners because they learn how to cook, 1 or 2 pastries. It's a whole different mindset from being an employee to a business owner. But in order for you to become a good business owner, you have to be an awesome employee. But as we all know, things don't happen that way. And sometimes, you might have poor leadership that you are actually running into while you're working. And I've had that experience. I've had awesome people that I worked with before. And the reason why I say that a lot of the jobs that I had in the past, even though they wasn't making that much, was because of the leadership. I think I stayed at the movie theater, had an awesome manager there. I think I was there for only at least 6 to 7 years, when I could have easily quit that job and had started making more money, doing a lot less work. But because of the management was so well, they treated me nicely. I pretty much made my own hours. I was like, well, why should I leave? I mean, the place is great. So that all entails is like, well, should I really continue on this job and move on? And that's one of the things that I did when I was transitioning that mindset of, I need to quit my job to make more income to start paying for school. And so I was at the movie theater. I went on and over to start working at Best Buy, Geek Squad. I think I started off at $12 an hour. But the reason why I started off at $12 an hour, because I sold myself short. Because at the time I was a supervisor at the movie theater, I was only making about $8.37 an hour. And Best Buy was like, well, how much do you want for this position? And I was like, well, $10 to $12 sounds reasonable. And it was like, all right, well, $12 it is. And then after we shook hands, the guy pat me on the back and said, never sell yourself short, because we could have gave you $14 to $15 an hour, but you already set your price. So this goes to, again, when you plan on trying to leave your job, you need to do the research on the industry that you're going into, and then also seeing where the gaps are in your knowledge to bridge that gap. Get around the people that are already doing what you want to do, learning from those folks, understanding what they do to make their income on a daily basis. Now, keep in mind, you might want to quit your job right now because, the wages aren't there and you're doing the exact same work as someone else and they are getting paid, I don't know, maybe 2%, 5% more than what you are, which could make a huge difference in your daily income. And when you have those discussions and those open discussions with your other colleagues, it really does bring to attention that, It really depends on how you market yourself. And is that really a reason to quit your job? So, one of the questions I really want you to think about is, do I really have enough to quit my job as I search for another job? Second thing is, will I have the health insurance to maintain myself as I look for another job? Because in case something happens to you in that meantime, and then all of a sudden you cannot work anymore, but because you don't have a job, you cannot get workers' comp, you don't have any paid time off or anything of that nature. And also, when you thinking about quitting your job without any backup plan, do you actually have enough to survive during the time frame that you're out? So that means, are your housing expenses taken care of? Do you have enough gas to get back and forth to the grocery store or to the emergency room if you need to get to one? Do you have enough to take care of your basic utilities, your water, your gas, electric, or if you just have electric? Um, but these are the different things that you need to start thinking about now if you're actually planning on quitting your job. A lot of people just kind of quit and say, well, a place to stay is might be my girlfriend's house or my boyfriend's house, or I might have to move back in with my parents and I'll figure it out later. That later will never come, or it might be to the point where the parents wind up moving out and leaving you the house there because they don't want to be around you. Sorry, let me stop. They want to be around you, but not that much because they already took the time to work hard. They groomed you. They did everything that they were supposed to do to bring you to where you are, and you move right back in without a game plan to move back out. And the parents weren't ready for it. So for those of you who are parents now, uh, these are some of the things that you have to start thinking about too with your kids. It's like, do you want them to move back? Will you have the finances to support your child as an adult when they move back in the house? And understand that there are some different outlayers, whereas, some kids might have some issues where you have to actually take care of them for lifetime, for the term of their life. But I'm talking about, for right now, I'm talking about the 80% of the folks who have the child that is okay and willing and able body to work. So it's also one of the things I want you to kind of think about. And one of there's two reasons that you really can't afford to quit your job that you hate for any reason. Is that one, your income is too low, and two, your expenses are too high. So this is one of the things that, if you plan on quitting, you need to start looking at, how can you lower your expenses? The number one thing I would say that bites a lot of people: just pay your cell phone off. If you have a monthly plan and you paying, not a plan, but you paying for your phone on a monthly basis, just pay it off. And if you can't pay it off, trade it in, get a cheaper phone. Just get a prepaid service, because you don't have to pay the service fees on the prepaid. I'm not even getting a sponsorship for this, but like Verizon has an awesome prepaid plan where the longer you have it, the lower your bill will be. And also, some credit cards would actually give you 2% back, or like cash back, for every time you make a payment. So these are the things that I really want you to start thinking about as you are going through this motion of changing your job, quitting your job, and also, what will it take for you to change your job? Are you willing to sacrifice the time that it takes to learn a new skill? Are you willing to sacrifice your marriage or your relationship that you have, if you have one, to make this transition in your life? Are you willing to take the time to better your situation? You have to be willing to give up something in order for you to gain something. So don't just think quitting your job is just freeing yourself up. No, it actually creates more issues than you expect. So I really want you to go out there and think about everything that you want to do. Write it down. What are the pros and cons of quitting this job? What things that I can do and put in place so I can leave this job in this period of time? What is your time frame to even quit the job? Are you going to wait till your next promotion? When you're going to wait until you get that next bonus and that you work so hard for? I mean, granted, it might be $1,000, but can they pay you that out in PTO? or your paid time off? So these are so many questions that you have to answer when you start thinking about quitting your job, or even leaving your job for your family or for your mental health. I will be planning on talking about self-care, which does not always mean, you go relax on the beach and sipping some wine or something. That is not self-care. That is more self-relaxation. Self-care is doing the tough stuff that you need to kind of better your situation. So just understanding those two different terms, I'll actually do a more deep dive into that in the next coming episodes. So I want you to make sure that you all are doing okay, and please be mindful when you're changing jobs. Oh, and before I go, there is something I thought was actually pretty cool. So I got this big old bag from Flip the World when I went live. Well, I didn't go live. I was actually participating in a live uh, event, and they were actually doing a drawing on one of their YouTube videos. So I do want to give a shout out to Flip the World for the bag. It really came in handy, and I've used that several times. Going back and forth to the thrift store, I do enjoy going to the thrift store, finding some cool things. Mainly, like I get like my golf bag. Not golf bag. I bowl. I don't even golf. So I use it for my bowling bag, and I get a couple things. Like I got a full dining room set from the thrift stores. Like, why pay full price when somebody else already paid for it and it was in good condition? So it's like, why? But anyway, the bag is awesome. If you guys ever actually are in, check out their YouTube channel. I'll actually put a link to it in the show notes as a quick guess, or whatever you want to call it. All right, everybody. I want you to be safe and take care.